everyone, and welcome. Thanks for tuning in to United Financially. I'm your host, Josie Navarro, Community Engagement Coordinator at United Way of Eastern LaSalle County.
And my name is Crystal Geiger, the Financial Literacy Specialist at Financial Plus Credit Union.
In this episode, we're exploring the world of budgeting, a key skill for everyone looking to improve their financial health.
So our very first guest on our very first episode is Miss Becky Coons.
Hello, Becky.
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me, and I feel honored to be a part of your very first podcast.
Oh, we're happy to have you.
Absolutely.
What better first guest?
I know. The person that has helped me on my whole journey here at Financial Plus, starting as a teller and now working as a financial literacy specialist.
Thank you, Crystal.
And my biggest cheerleader. We would love to get to know you a little, hear about your journey and what you have learned on the way. And let's just see where this takes us.
Sounds good.
Okay.
You bet. So I'm Becky Coons. I'm the Director of Human Resources with Financial Plus Credit Union. My journey started a long time ago. My parents were big budgeters. Growing up as a kid, my mom always had a budget. She used something called a check register, which I think is foreign to the two of you.
Yes.
Those things just aren't where we're at, right? But my mom kept a check register. My mom also did what's called the old envelope system. So as she would prepare for, like if we would go on vacation or for Christmas holidays, she would use envelopes, and you saw her each week bring cash home and she put it into the envelopes. And what that taught me is that we have to distribute our money each time we get paid into a certain category if this is something that I want to do. Now, don't get me wrong, life got in the way for my parents, and, the roof needed this and the kids needed this, and sometimes those buckets got short, and so we weren't always able to do the things that those envelopes were kind of earmarked for. So sometimes we had to take money out of a vacation fund and put it into the roof fund, or maybe the car broke down. I always saw my mom moving the dollars in the envelope. So as I grew up as a kid, that's where I was at. I did have all the latest and greatest things. My parents sacrificed a lot for me. They made sure that I had all of the name brand things, that I was in all of the activities that I needed to be in, and then they sacrificed. Didn't always have the new car, didn't always have the latest and greatest themselves. We didn't do Disney trips every year. It was learned early on that that's what parents do. Didn't realize that until I got a little bit older and became a parent myself. So along my journey there, I went to college, and then I graduated from Northern Illinois University. So kudos to me. Go Huskies. That's right. That's right. So then I became a single mom, and I was 21 years old, and I had this infant that I needed to take care of. And it was tough. I was, at that time, making a whopping $3.35 an hour.
Wow.
Yep. That's what happened back then. The wages were, nothing. They just were nothing. So it was tough. My very first full-time job, I made $5.15.
Wow.
I know. And I had to have a car payment, $120. I had rent, $495. Now, today, you both would be like, I would love that.
Does
Right.
sound nice.
But
Yeah.
think about it, on $5.15, and guess what? I had the all-important student loan to tack on top of all of that. So financially, I did not have enough money coming in for the money going out. And it was very, very difficult for me. So the first sacrifice that I made is that I moved back home with my child. And that's tough.
Yeah.
But financially, all I was doing was going into more credit card debt. Because back then, and I think it's still this way now, I would go to Target. Would you like to card? Sure. Back then it was the Gap and Old Navy and Express and the Limited. And, before you know it, when you live across the street from Von Maur, you have a Von Maur card. And before I knew it, I started getting into some credit card debt.
Yep. They make it very easy to do.
Oh, it was too easy.
Yeah. I know that
Way too
unfortunately,
easy.
very well. Yeah.
So I was a single mom, barely making it, moving back home, and credit card debt and student loan debt. So I'm nowhere near, I don't even make enough money to eat, let alone pay the bills. So I sat down with my mom and we did a few things, and I got a full-time job at Financial Plus Credit Union.
Here we are today.
Here we are. I started out as teller, and I worked through getting out of that credit card debt that first time, right? Mm-hmm. I had then enough that I could rent an apartment for Kelsey and I. So we were then out on our own. My car had finally gotten paid off. I kept that old car. It was the best 1992 Toyota Tercel that there was out there. It was just a little bug. It was perfect. Aww. So I was here as a teller, and then I started having a checkbook register. Mm-hmm. I started making sure that I was only in and using the money that I was making. It's really difficult when you see everybody on the teller line had all the new things. And they were going to lunch every day, and I wasn't. I couldn't. I let myself go to lunch one day per week, and that was my treat. And it was McDonald's used to have the dollar menu. Mm-hmm. But it was so nice because I could take my $3 and I could go to McDonald's. And that was in the late 90s. I started here in 1996, so mid to late 90s. Mm-hmm. And it was tough because I was still scraping by. I was scraping by. Well, you find love and you get married and all is well, right?
Yeah.
It's all so good. Yeah. It was good for a while. We bought a house. Let me go back. Let me just go back a smidgen in between meeting the man of my dreams and the next financial crisis, right? Uh-huh. So while I was still single and I was out on my own, those credit cards creeped back. Mm-hmm. Because I wanted my child to have it all. Because I remembered what that felt like to be told no sometimes. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, my parents did give me everything that I wanted, but there were still no's along the way.
Of course.
But I didn't want my child to be without anything. And so I overindulged. And I then also saw people around, and I was like, oh, I want the new pants, and I want the new this, and I want the this, and I want the that. So I got the gimmies, And at that time, Kelsey was probably 4 or 5, and the Berenstain Bears were big on the TV.
Yep.
And they were all about the gimmies. I just remember the one episode, it was all about the gimmies, and they wanted everything, gimme, gimme, gimme. And I feel like I wanted to give her that. I just didn't want her to have didn't want her to live without.
Yeah.
Right or wrong, it's just how it was. Mm-hmm. It's how I felt. Because I didn't know, I knew better. Oh, I knew better. I 100% knew better. I just chose to look a different way.
Mm-hmm. Because it's easy to ignore.
So easy. Fast forward to where I am at today as the certified financial counselor at the credit union. That is exactly where everybody's at. It's so easy to get into this, I want, I need. So I had to get out of that mindset. All right, so I meet the man of my dreams. I'm back in credit card debt, and we're buying a house. So we sat down as a couple because I am a very big advocate when it comes to the fact of it's not his money and her money. It's our money.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who's making it. It doesn't matter how much it is.
That's what marriage is.
It is. It's a partnership and financial partnership as well. Mm-hmm. It is one bucket. Now, you may have separate accounts because different things come out of different spaces, but it's one pot of money. So we sat down as a couple and we said, this is what we're going to do. We want to pay off the student loans, pay off the credit cards, and pay off this house. How do we get there? So at about that time, it was around 2004 when the house was purchased. So that's Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, Mary Hunt, all of those big players, those big financial players were out there. And then at the credit union in 2007, that's when I became a certified financial planner.
Okay.
So there's lots of things that I learned in probably that 4 to 6 year time period. But the biggest one was called rapid debt reduction. I think Dave Ramsey calls it the snowball debt. Because old school, they had you doing it by interest rate and you would list it. Mm-hmm. This way you do it by smallest balance and then you snowball that way.
Yeah.
I learned that from you, and I took that home to my husband, and he was still talking about the old school way. I'm like, no, sir. Like, this makes sense. Just listen to me. I have somebody teaching me. So we did that way as well, the way you're talking about.
And it works.
It does.
It works to the point where we got the student loans paid off. the credit cards paid off within 3 years. And
Wow.
then,
That's impressive.
it's impressive. And then our house was paid off in 8.
Wow.
But I'm going to tell you, the sacrifices that were made in that time period are overwhelming. We had to take a look at everything. So my kids will tell you that Dad was like an energy nightmare.
Turn those lights off.
Exactly.
Close the door.
Yep. We had power strips. Our youngest, this is going to go down on one of those tangents that I said I didn't want to go down.
That's okay.
But when you talk about tips and tricks and you talk about the things that I've learned along the way, do you guys know the energy vampires that you are? Like, everything is plugged in. Everything has a power source. I challenge anybody out there listening today, unplug everything, including your refrigerator. All of it.
Becky.
No, just hear me out here, Josie. Hear me out. Unplug it all. I want you to go outside your meter, and I want you to watch it actually stop.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Then I want you to plug the refrigerator back in.
Obviously, that's number one.
That's number one.
Yeah.
And then I want you to see what happens. I want you to put your TV, your phone, all of it on a power strip. Our electric bill went from, the $120, $130 mark down to $40.
No.
I'm telling you, there is some massive savings inside of electricity. And then the other thing is, of course, we have an older home and we didn't have the money to put in all new windows, right?
Okay.
Windows are pretty leaky.
I have the same thing.
Yeah, so for 3 years, 3 long winters, we were those people that had towels in our windowsills to keep the draft out. But it saved our $200 gas bill down to $80.
Wow.
I mean, it is absolutely incredible the amount of money you can save. So we took a hardcore look at that. We took a hardcore look at water usage. Christian used to be in the shower in the basement, and he would be in there for too long, and I'd turn the water on upstairs, and it would heat him out, and then he would turn it off. I mean, all those mom tricks, I did.
Yeah.
But it was saving us money. So those were some tips and tricks. The other thing we did is that Ross and I went without. The kids didn't really go without, but we did tell them no. They didn't get everything, but we made it a priority. So for those years that we were paying off all the debt, we did nothing. There was no vacations. There was no coffee runs. There was no lunch once a week. There was no new shoes for Dad and I. There was nothing. We got nothing because we made a pact together that this is what we were going to do. Got out of debt. We're financially fit. And it is life-altering when you know you don't have a payment. It's life-altering.
I can't imagine.
Now we're able to do all the things that we all want to do, but I don't have to worry about putting it on a credit card. I don't have to worry about taking out a loan. I don't have those burdens. As we were able to save for an emergency fund, I was able to save again for holidays. It changed our life. And then we were able to actually save for vacations. And then our kids got the best of experiences because I wasn't always borrowing for the experience. I wasn't going to pay interest. So that's a little bit of my journey as of today of like me, Becky Coons, personally. My journey here at the credit union, everything I did for our staff and for the community is just, I base it off of my own experiences. So we, many years ago, probably 2007, 8, maybe even 11 and 12, we did lunch and learns where people came in and we did budgeting simulations and retirement investment things and just tried to get rapid debt reduction. And I've helped a lot of people along the way.
It's probably more meaningful for someone willing to learn to hear from someone who's been in their shoes, basically.
And I'm happy to share my story because it's basically a rags to riches. And I'm not rich. I am not rich. I'm not rich. But it's just that type of thing of like, I see so many single moms who are just caught in the loop. I see so many kids with $125,000 in student loan debt that make $15 an hour. They don't know how to get out of the loop. They don't even know where to start. I see more people in credit card debt that exceeds the $20,000 mark.
That's incredible.
It is.
Sounds very stressful. Yes.
It is when you're talking 25 to 35% interest on the cards that they're doing. So it's tough. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. I know that prices are high. Your groceries are high. Your interest rate, your car prices are high. Everything about everything in life, the prices are through the roof. And to think that you're going to make it financially is tough. But I can tell you, I can look at somebody's checking account and I can guarantee I can find money because they eat out, they eat out, they eat out, they eat out, they eat out daily.
Yes.
Definitely.
Well, I think, at least in my case, I eat out frequently because I'm busy working to pay my bills. And so then I don't have time to figure out what I'm going to cook tonight. I never cook. It's poor time management on my part, but it adds up quick, and the convenience of it is just, I'm just swiping my card probably 3 times a week.
I will tell you that not only do I budget on a monthly basis, so there's 1,000 apps out there that you can use. There just are. And use the ones that are free, don't pay for anything. But if you write it down, you tend to follow it a little bit better, just like all your goals. I write down all of that. The same thing goes for meals. So you want to talk about people that don't eat out, come over to our home. We just don't. I meal prep.
Okay.
I take a couple hours on the weekend or one night during the week that I have free, and I meal prep. Whatever it is that you like to cook, I do. I pack lunches every day, and breakfast is always before you walk out the door. So a treat is a treat for us. It still is a treat today for my kids.
Well, a treat feels different when you sacrifice or you earn it.
Yes.
I think that's my biggest struggle, is that I'm always needing a little treat.
We all
Whether
need
that's,
treats.
at the grocery store, like an actual sweet treat, or I need a little pick-me-up. I need that instant gratification. And it's easy, like you said, when you started working here in the teller line and you saw the other tellers spending their money in a different way than you were, and you're like, that can be me. Why can't that be me? When you were talking about making sacrifices for your children, I definitely feel like that was how my childhood was. And I, for the most part, got what I wanted, and there was obviously some no's in there, but now that I'm on my own and paying my own bills, I'm realizing what that sacrifice really was for them, and that I can't maintain that lifestyle they gave me. And it's tough.
It is tough because that's what you got used to.
Yeah, at first it was kind of feeling like a blow to my ego, but I mean, you can look and see the money that people are spending on things, and you can think whatever you want about it, but until you talk to that person, you don't actually know, like, oh, well, they bought that cool boat, but they're $20,000 in debt. I mean, you never know. You never know if someone is making a poor decision just by looking at it.
It is, and it's always keeping up with the Joneses. That was a lot of, even in my childhood, there was a lot of trying to keep up with the Joneses. You wanted to keep up with the society and the norms and all that. It took a long time, and it was a hard reality for me to be like, nope, my gratification now comes when I see the balance go up, and not the credit card balance, the savings balance. Or when I can say, hey, we're going to go on a Hawaii vacation and I'm paying cash for it, instead of being like, I got to go take out a loan. There is such gratification to being able to go into a car dealership and be like, it's a cash deal. Because one of the things that I've trained my kids to do is that car payment. Let's just take something as simple as your car payment, and let's just take $500.
Okay.
And let's say that you go out and you finance your first car. Awesome. Perfect. No problems with that. You got a good rate. You're making weekly payments, so your interest is down. You pay it off within 4 years instead of 5. Awesome. Now the challenge becomes, take that $500 and set it aside into a car account. And set it aside for the next 4 years. Keep the car. Do not trade that car in just because it's 5 years old. Put on the tires, change the fluids, spend a couple $1,000s, get it back to where it needs to be, drive it, but put that $500 car payment aside. And I'll tell you, in 4 years, you might not have the full amount, but you're going to have $10,000 or $15,000 set aside to go buy the new car, and now maybe you're only financing 10 instead of 30. Huge. So I've tried to encourage my kids to do that. That's something that we practice. Car prices go up every time I think that I've got enough saved. I still am $10,000 short. That's fine. I'm not financing $35,000 anymore. I'm financing 10. It makes a difference.
It does.
So taking those small tips and putting that money aside after you've paid something off is also part of that whole snowball thing when you get to the space where you're able to save. I think there's a statistic out there, and I think, Crystal, you probably know this better than I. Is it like 70% of all Americans don't even have $400 in their savings account to pay for a emergency?
That is exactly right. Not very many people are able to pay for emergencies right now.
$400. So tires are more than $400. Hot water heaters $1,000. So everything is quadrupled from what it was 30 years ago or even 10 years ago. So having a focus each and every paycheck of that mom envelope system, I know it sounds archaic.
I love the envelope system. So when I started at the credit union, you actually told me about that, and I've been with the credit union for almost, I think, just over 12 years now, and that's how I run our household. It's just an updated version. So at the credit union, you can have sub accounts, and I have multiple sub accounts labeled homeowners insurance, property taxes, dog expense, a multiple one. So every week, we, out of our paycheck, it automatically goes into these quote unquote envelopes.
Yep.
So we always have some things. We're not diving into the money we need for our weekly expenses.
Well, that's nice because you could even set it up to where it automatically goes in there, and then you wouldn't even have to think about it.
Yeah,
Correct.
you learn to live on whatever's deposited in your checking because you're paying yourself first.
Yep.
All that money, the obligations you know are going to happen, that money's already set aside. It's been life-changing for us, especially with the snowball effect you mentioned earlier. And my husband and I, when we were still living with our grandma, we had the money to buy a brand new truck. This was 10 years ago. Trucks weren't as expensive. We had that and a car, and we were able to do that snowball effect and just pay it off instantly within 5 years. The last 5 years, we haven't had any vehicle loan payments. Like, it's just all paid off. So
That's
And it's a
nice.
good feeling.
it is so nice.
It's a
There's
good
other
feel.
expenses.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to save that $500 loan payment on something else. It goes to something else. It's not in a new vehicle fund, unfortunately. But I love that idea.
It's a great idea and something to aspire to.
Yes.
Yeah, believe me, Crystal, there have been many years that vehicle fund has gone to something else. many years. But the idea is there and the intention is there,
Yes.
and I make that transfer automatically each week. I do that same thing. Property taxes, all of that, vacation funds, all of it, every ounce of it. Just to go back real quick on the whole electricity, and I challenge everybody listening to look at your cell phone bill and see how many hidden charges and your cable company.
Your streaming services.
Because your
Absolutely.
streaming services are going to be through the roof. It's a place to look where you can cut $10, $15, $20. It adds up.
Yeah. So I live paycheck to paycheck, and I know that that is not a long-term goal of mine, right? I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck a day longer, but I know what's coming in. I think that I know. But so I've started
that.
with an old-fashioned pen and paper. I have a little book, and I write down all of the things that I spend my money on, all the things that are bills, all the things that are frivolous. And I see those coffee trips adding up, and at the grocery store I'm paying more than I should because I'm picking up a little treat for myself. So my first step, it's been very hard for me to start budgeting, but what I found a helpful first step is to just write it down and see like what you're really spending your money on.
And that is exactly the first step that I do for anybody who comes in for financial counseling is we got to write it down. You got to see it in writing. What is it that's coming in and what is it that's going out? And I feel a lot of people put too much in the miscellaneous column. They want to lump that into miscellaneous, but it's really not. It's how much are you spending on coffee? And I always tell people, you want a coffee, get a coffee, but you have to take it off of somewhere else. So maybe instead of having 5, you have 2, and then you work your way down to where it is that it's 1 or whatever it is that you're comfortable with. And you don't have to go cold turkey. I write everything down as well on a monthly scale, annual scale. I look at my annual budget a minimum quarterly because things change along the way. You know, you don't know when your hot water heater is going to go out, or a car is going to need repairs, or a child gets sick or breaks an arm and you have an unexpected medical expense. Again, the envelope system is nice for those unexpected things, but then you have to tweak your budget along the way.
Yeah, I love the writing down tip that you gave us. This whole week, I wrote down the menu for the week because my husband and I, we kind of get lazy and we want to just order out or go somewhere and then go home. So I wrote down my whole menu for the week and I have stuck with it every single day.
Good for you.
Thank you. The best part is I am not trying to move money from A to B to C to try to pay for this bad habit. We actually have money left in our account for something else that may come up, and it's just wonderful. First off, we're eating in way better for us.
Correct.
And financially too. That writing down has helped me stick with my meal plan.
And it's an easier first step to make, at least for me. When I see all the other steps behind it, I freeze, and I'm like, it's too overwhelming, I can't do it. It was an easy first step to just write it down, just observe.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really is, and it's okay to take some of those apps. I can tell you that I think it's I know it's Dave Ramsey will tell you to get $1,000 set aside for an emergency. It may not take care of the full emergency, but it's going to give you a start on the emergency, and then you'll have at least that picked up, and then you start working on all your debt. But in the meantime, every single month you're writing it down. Have to.
Yeah. Becky, I loved everything you shared with us. Your whole journey, there's a part in every bit that has been relatable, and I have learned so much from all of it.
Thanks, Crystal.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I think the most important thing that I get from talking to people about their journey is understanding that everyone struggles in some way, and maybe it's not even the same way, but it's not a piece of cake for many people in our community, and I don't think that we acknowledge that. And I think there's a lot to be said about just simply having a conversation about it and letting people know that, you know, you don't have it all. It might look like you have it all, but you don't.
Yeah.
And it's okay to struggle sometimes.
And knowing where to go when you are struggling. So what you two are doing for the community to give tips and tricks out there, if you touch just one life, then you've been a complete success, because that's exactly what we're looking for, is just touch one life. If you took one thing from anything that we say, then it's a win in my category.
I agree.
So yeah, and every journey's different, everybody's different, but you're right, Josie. So many people, it's frowned upon to talk about it. It's frowned upon to be like, hey, we're not making it right now. That's frowned upon, and it shouldn't be, because I guarantee you the person sitting next to you is struggling as well.
That just reminds me of a fun little story I have. I recently visited my grandma, and I didn't want to rent a U-Haul to bring some stuff back. And my grandma, sweet lady she is, decided to call me cheap. Like, out loud in front of everybody, why are you being so cheap? And I'm like, excuse me, Grandma, but I am being financially savvy. Let's just get that straight, because it's my budget, not yours. So if that negative thought, because somebody has called you cheap in the past because you're not willing to spend the money, get rid of it. They're not in charge of your finances, so they have no say in how you use your money.
I love that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I know that it's a hard thing to do, to kind of put aside your ego. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to admit that you don't have it all.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you having me on, and I will be a listener.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
We love having you. Thank you.
It was great
You're welcome.
talking to you.
You too.
I just want to end with saying, remember, budgeting is not just about restricting your spending. It's about making informed choices that align with your financial goals. So let's take small steps, stay consistent, and don't be afraid to adjust your plan as needed, because we know things always come up. Your financial well-being is a journey. It is not a destination. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review. Your feedback will help us bring more valuable content to you, and that is what's most important to us.
I want to thank you all for listening to United Financially, and thank you, Becky, for joining us today and sharing your story. If you would like any additional resources on budgeting and saving, you can contact Financial Plus Credit Union or United Way of Eastern LaSalle County, or you can visit the link in our description with some more online resources on how to get started.